You know, we always talk about how adaptable the human body is, but how adaptable is it really? We're about to find out by pushing it to its absolute limit. We're going to run a little thought experiment, one that forges a human being in one of the harshest furnaces on the entire planet. Let's see what happens.
So I want you to really picture this. What if, from the moment you were born, your entire world wasn't a cozy, climate-controlled house, but the massive, totally unforgiving Sahara Desert? The setting for this transformation is, well, you could really only call it a sandy hell. This is a place where the sun isn't your friend. It's not just a source of warmth. It's a relentless, life-threatening enemy. From the second you arrive, the stakes couldn't be higher.
And just how hot are we talking? 120 degrees Fahrenheit. For a fully grown adult, that's a massive system shock. But for a tiny infant, that's pretty much a death sentence. This place doesn't just encourage you to adapt. It demands it, right now.
Okay, so how does a human body even begin to deal with that? The very first challenge is just surviving the initial shock. This is the body's first stand, a desperate series of adaptations just to make it through those first few days and weeks.
Let's start the clock. On day 1, you're found by a nomadic tribe. Thankfully, they know the rules of the desert. But even wrapped up in breathable robes, what's called the sauna effect kicks in almost instantly. Your body is just radiating heat and steam, fighting like crazy to regulate itself. Fast forward 1 month, and that fight has become a full-blown, non-stop adaptation.
And the biggest opponent here isn't a lion or a snake. It's something you can't even see. It's the invisible enemy, dehydration. It's this constant, silent threat that your entire system now has to rewire itself to fight 24/7.
And the way the body responds, it's just incredible. The environment basically hacks your vagus nerve, that's your body's stress regulator, and forces it to dial down your panic response. So when water gets scarce, your heart doesn't just start racing like a vacuum cleaner about to explode. At the same time, your skin starts its own journey, toughening up into this leathery shield against the sun and the sand.
So once you've survived that initial shock, the real work begins. This next phase is all about being forged by the desert. It's not just about surviving anymore. It's about the environment fundamentally rewiring the entire human machine over years and years.
By the time you're 5 years old, your diet of dry dates and camel milk has completely rewired your metabolism. It's become surgically efficient. Absolutely no wasted energy. Then by year 12, the changes are, well, they're profound. You're not just some adapted human anymore. You are a genuine physiological anomaly.
And a huge part of this is something called the anabolic surge. See, when you run barefoot for years on these burning hot plains, you're creating constant friction and impact. The body's response to this is to just go into total overdrive, building insanely dense muscle and bone in your legs and feet just to handle the strain. The result is, it's almost hard to believe. The description is literally having feet thicker than tires and legs like tree trunks. And that's not just some flowery language, it's the physical reality of a body built for power and stability on sand that's always shifting beneath you.
Your endurance becomes basically superhuman. You can track prey for hours in heat that would literally cause heart failure in an ordinary person, a sapien, as it's put here. Even your eyes adapt. They learn to read the glow of the desert, letting you see trails that are completely invisible to anyone else.
And all of this brings us to the absolute peak of this transformation. This is where you reach the apex. After decades being forged in this furnace, you become what you could only call the final boss form of a desert survivor. Your abilities start to seem almost out of this world.
At 18, you go on a vision quest, a trial of survival that sharpens your focus to a razor's edge. Your vagus nerve is so well trained by now that you can just drop into this strange, calm focus on command, conserving every last molecule of oxygen. By the time you hit 25, you are, for all intents and purposes, a biological tank, built for this one specific environment and nothing else.
These changes go all the way down to your skeleton. Your bones are now 30% thicker than an average human's. And this isn't just about being strong. It's about a deep, fundamental resilience. It's a skeleton that's been completely rebuilt for a life spent battling the desert.
And your senses? They've evolved. You basically perceive the desert in 4D. You can read the wind, you can smell moisture from miles away, you can actually hear the whisper of the dunes. You navigate by the stars as easily as we use a GPS, and you can survive sandstorms that would bury another person alive. At this point, you're not just in the desert, you are a part of it.
So what happens when this world finally collides with ours? Well, the final chapter of this story is about leaving the desert, only to find out that you are now a world apart. It's the story of an irreversible return to a civilization that isn't really yours anymore.
Eventually, a research convoy spots you, and to them, you're this almost mythical figure, a ghost of the sun, who can just sprint across heat-baked clay that's as hard as concrete, by the way, without even breaking a sweat.
The two worlds just can't be reconciled. Your reality is the language of the wind and the smell of distant moisture. Theirs is Netflix and AC. To you, a modern city isn't some marvel of engineering, it's a toxic gas chamber, and its society is completely and utterly alien.
And here's the kicker. The adaptation is so complete, so total, that a biological lock has turned. There is no going back. You're not just suited for the wild anymore, you are now permanently and irreversibly a part of it.
And that leaves us with this one last, really fascinating question. It makes you totally rethink what home even means. When your entire biology, your bones, your senses, your very cells, has been rebuilt for one single place on Earth, have you mastered that environment, or have you become a prisoner of your own perfect adaptation?